Well, hello everybody. It's the 5th of August, which as happens is my daughter Sarah's birthday, and she's having a barbecue this afternoon. Very briefly, well, as briefly as I can keep it, just a little hello from the orchard and an update on the book. I've written 115,000 words. In fact, I've written rather more words than that, but I cut quite a few of them because they were just going off too much at a tangent. The book, I am determined to get it out by Apple Day, which is the 21st of October. Anyway, I'm out here in the neglected orchard doing a little bit of fruit thinning. This is May Queen. Now, I said earlier that we've had a disastrous year as far as the orchard is concerned because of a major frost event, bit of Tortrix moth damage there. No spraying's been done. Codling moth damage there. I'm doing a bit of fruit thinning. This is May Queen. Now, I said I would do a video about which apple varieties seem to have survived best, and I'm just having a little wander around the orchard, thinning out the May Queen. This should have been done before. I often joked that if we had given this orchard a name, we might have given it a name such as should have been done orchard, because we're always like saying, oh no, that job should have been done sometime earlier. Hey, but life moves on, life is complicated. That's a bit of capsid damage there. And yes, I am writing quite a lot about pests in the orchard and pest control. I know some of you want to hear a lot more about that. Some of you believe that companion planting and singing to the plants, and leaving nature alone will solve pest problems. Well, you might want to read another book. I mean, I'm not against the organic philosophy in general, but pests and diseases haven't read the same poems as some people in the organic movement have read. Anyway, to avoid spending too long on one particular issue, that's May Queen, and that's a tree I have recommended for a number of reasons. Good apple, long keeper, very rare, very old, interesting old apple, and it seems to be a bit tougher than some others, a bit tougher in terms of disease resistance, and as I've just shown, it proved to be a little bit hardy against the frost. Here's a Kid's Orange Red, as everyone knows, one of my favourite fruits. There's a bit of brown rot there. Been no spraying at all this year. Capture damage there. Not worry. So we haven't had a complete failure with the Kid's Orange Red, although crop is significantly down. Orleans Renette, as people will know, one of my very favourite apples, French apple. It will cook beautifully. It's a great apple to put in salads. Oh, I hate it when that happens. So I pull out, I see there were 3 fruits in a bunch, and I've got to pull out 2 of them. I pull out 2, and the remaining one has been damaged by either sawfly or codling moth. Ordinarily I'd cut this open with a knife, but I'm shooting this with 2 hands. Okay, so there we go. A reasonable crop. She should have been thinned a little earlier, but I'm thinning it now. If you don't thin, well, you've got a thick crop. You'll get very small apples. What a pain when you think about it. We've got a very, very light crop. If only the apples were spread out more widely. Anyway, that's the way it is. Right, here we are in the cider section, and this row of trees here, this is a row of bramleys that I grafted over to other varieties. And this is Dabinet, which, as everybody knows, is the most generally popular and widely planted cider apple, grafted over to surplus to requirement bramleys. There's codling moth has had that one. So that's not doing bad, and the 2 next to it are doing good. So the Dabinet cider apples have done very well. Yes, excuse me a bit today because I can't quite remember what everything is. Oh, the label's gone on that one. Never mind. This is one of the rare Gloucester cider apples, the name of which I've forgotten. somebody sent me this and I grafted over. So some of the cider apples have got a little bit of a crop. So I think it's Yarlington Mill, very, very light crop on that one. Nothing on the Morgan Sweet. Here's the Somerset Red Streak. A couple of apples, a bit pitiful really. These are the Tremlets bitter down this end. The frost doesn't make any difference to these because this was their off year. These ones, nothing on these. Totally biennial. Walking down through the cider orchard. This is a dear little apple, the Lebret, as I'm mentioning in the book. Lebret. A mistake was made in a Somerset nursery a few years ago, and lots of these were grafted and wrongly labelled Sweet Orford. We ordered Sweet Orford, we grafted, then we planted, and we found it quite a good cider apple, apart from its significant level of susceptibility to scab. And we always give this one 2 or 3 shots of fungicide, as I think I mentioned earlier. I had quite a nasty episode of illness towards the beginning of the year, and I had to save every ounce of energy I had to fulfil my professional tasks for which I'm paid. So the orchard got totally neglected, apart from a bit of mowing here and there. This I think is, yeah, this is dabbing it as well. There's a few there. Yeah, this is the main row of Lebret. It's got a fair bit of scab this year. That again is that's probably caused by the chafer bug. I've written about the chafer bug. I've written about the scab. I've written about the brown rot. I've written about the brown rot. It's another. Don't get the impression I'm trying to put anyone off growing apples. I've always tried to be absolutely truthful. Yeah, here's some Kingston Black. And again, this is a late blossoming cider apple, very prone to brown rot. I should be removing these and taking them away and destroying them. But I'm just chucking them on the ground. Bit of canker there. I haven't got the secateurs. I need to do a formal canker walk, but I just snap that down so that I don't miss it when I come back with my secateurs. Anyway, so as you see, some of the cider trees have got a bit of a crop, and so far of look at that cat up there. Obviously thinks it's Richard Branson or Tony Blair. Look, it's lying around having a comfortable laze. I've got a picture of that cat that's going to be in the book immediately after it's eaten a baby blackbird. Alright, cat. Anyway, yeah, let's keep rolling. Yeah, the cider apples have done better than most of the apples. I'm just walking through past Julia's art studio, which is currently full of stuff. One of the other issues this year has been Julia's elderly mother, who has now been living with us for 6 weeks, so she can't cope anymore. So that's all been another reason why we haven't been able to manage the orchard as we might have been. There's 3 rows there of Lord Lambourne, which as regular viewers will know, it's one of the most reliable apples, and usually has a very heavy crop. We pick it successionally, and there isn't much. Here incidentally, there's yeah, this one's been bitten by the chafer bug. Chafer bug used to be a really big problem. Again, I've written about that. It's not such a problem now. So again, a pitiful crop on the Lord Lambourne. Here we have Sturma Pippin, and there's a row of Sturma Pippin and Orleans Runat. It's patchy. We have a light crop of Orleans Runat here. The birds have already started on them. Of course, where there were fewer apples this year, there were no fewer birds, and so they'll start pecking earlier. We don't mind a few butterflies. They will drink apple juice out of apples which the birds have pecked open, but they don't have the strength to actually, they don't have the teeth to peck apples open themselves. Slightly disoriented here. Oh yes, there's some kids orange red. Yeah, these are some kids. Well, they again, they have survived better than some. They've done better than some. When you're thinning fruit, try to make sure to remove ones which have been, say, bitten by, been struck by codling moth and have gone rotten as a result. If you remove it, then with luck, the adjacent apples might be saved. If you don't remove it, then they'll all rot. Where are we? Yeah, this is another row of kids orange red. So the kids orange red, which if I had to come out and say one apple to plant, I'd say plant kids orange red. It has done a little bit better than some in this frost year. Now here's Laxton's Epicure, a very nice early apple, and it looks like we're going to get a crop here, not a big one. Again, the codling moth has struck relatively badly this year, which is because we didn't spray. We were too busy and tired, and because there wasn't going to be a crop because of the killer frost of the night of the 25th and 26th of April. I remember it very clearly because I had to get up early to go to London that day, and I saw the frost. It was mainly gone by 9 o'clock, but you know, like being boiled, being frozen is something that only has to happen for a very short period of time before it has its effect. Yeah, I've just walked through a couple of rows of Ashmead's kernel, and there's nothing on the Ashmeads here. And Suntan, a great apple, Suntan. Seems to be a little bit of a crop on Suntan. Again, this is a triploid, and it blossoms a bit late. We're going to have a few Suntan. Okay, this is going to be a long video after all, sorry. But I'm taking a look at the actual performance in the orchard. Oh, there's a tiny few Ashmead's kernel. Suntan does blossom a bit late. Suntan and Orleans Runette, and we've got a light crop of those. Better than nothing. We won't be, well, we don't do the markets anymore. We certainly won't be giving any of those away, but we should have just enough for ourselves anyway. Egrimont russet, pitiful crop. I don't know if you can, how well you can see these trees. There's less fruit on these trees than we usually see after we've been over them twice. Just the occasional fruit here and there. Egrimont russet, very, very light crop. This one did a little bit better. This is one of our hardier apples. This is Winter King, otherwise known as Winston. If you want to buy Winter King, you'll have to ask for Winston, because that's the name it was given in 1944, I think, after the famous World War II leader. Incidentally, I don't know if anyone's seen the film Dunkirk. It's a very powerful film. Peter Hitchens reviewed it, didn't like it much. He's a Navy man, well, established in the Navy, in the Arctic convoys, a terrible segment of the war. And he said he'd much rather seen a film about the bad political decisions which led to 2/3 British soldiers being sent against a vastly superior German army without air cover or adequate tanks. But that's another story. But yeah, it's quite a powerful film. Here are the sunset. They're making a lot of growth. That's because they ain't got no fruit. Looking at this one, these two trees, I cannot see a single apple. Oh yes, there's one right there at the back. Yep. Oh, there's another one. Okay, sunset. Right. So yeah, we're not going to have a big problem picking fruit this year. Still need to do some thinning. Here's another good news story. Concord. You've heard me before now say that Concord is definitely the #1 pear I would recommend growing, and that recommendation has been further borne out this year because Concord has got a few pears on it. The others have mostly got none. It's not the best flavoured pear there is, but having said that, any pear that is properly ripened and eaten when it's at the right time to eat it is a lovely experience, and it's a very nice pear. It's a cross between Conference, a very reliable performer, very pedestrian taste, and Doyen du Comis, tricky performer that can do very well. Wonderful, wonderful taste, and it's sort of half and half. A bit like the Cider Red times Cox Orange Pippin cross, which gave us Red Pippin, which is a better tasting apple than Cider Red, much better tasting than Cider Red, and a much better cropper than Cox. So that's a good apple. And Concord, that's the pear I recommend to plant if you only plant one pear, because it actually does perform better. We've got the other pears we have here: Pear, Hardy, Conference, and Doyen du Comis. There's hardly a pear between them, whereas all of the Concord have a few. So Concord has once again proved to be the best orchard performer in a difficult year, although it still hasn't done very well. I think I will end this video there, having walked through our main cider orchard and my main cider and rare varieties orchard, fill barrel over there, and having walked through our main Cobbitts orchard, our main mass production orchard. The original orchard Bunyards is a very similar story. Hardly any fruit at all, and the apples which have succeeded best are the ones that blossomed late. Somebody will ask about the Corpendula. All I can say is that we only have a couple of trees of that, and they are very, very slow growers, so we didn't have much crop on them anyway. I'm trying to fix that by having grafted some onto a very powerful, big growing old Bramley. So, finally, update on the book: 115,000 words written so far. I am doing final editing